Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing. I am your host, Megan Thompson Mann, and this is my co host.
Hi, I'm Kirk Rafferty.
And this week we are covering a topic that we've been thinking a lot about recently, Kirk and I. It is our agent wish list. All the things
Yeah,
we wish literary agents would do better. Not that you're not perfect.
they are perfect.
You're
Yeah,
all
there's
perfect.
actually nothing they can do
No,
better.
no, no.
So what are we covering next week,
I
Megan?
know, I know, I know. I mean, this would, this is just a placeholder. I mean, we don't want to gild the
Yeah,
lily here, but Kirk and I are both back in the trenches. So I know that some people do not like that phrase, but I don't care. Sorry,
yeah, deal with it.
sorry. I'm doing the deal with it with like the little sunglasses, like just dropping down onto my
Right,
face.
that just dropped down on our face. Yeah,
Deal with it.
yeah.
So, yeah, we've Kirk took over script writing duties this week, so if it sucks, you can blame him. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah. I figured I should probably start pulling my weight at some point. So Megan has been responsible for like 90% of our
That's why
scripts.
you should blame me.
Even more, yeah. Yeah, so if the other episodes suck, yeah,
You
blame
can come
Megan.
to me. My email is kirkraff2234@gmail.com.
No,
Unload,
not my
unload.
secret private
Yes,
email
that's a very
address.
secret one. So we are coming up with our ultimate wish list for what we think literary agents could do better, even though they're perfect. We do love them. We love you. If you're listening to us, welcome. Take a seat. Have a beverage of your choosing. This will be gentle sometimes. So, Kirk, how's your writing going this week?
Writing has slowed down a little bit. It's still going forward. I'm still enthusiastic about it. Unfortunately, like my day job has been super busy, and so that eats into a lot of it. And you know how it is, you get home from work and well, in my case, I work from home, but, once I unplug from my job and I try to plug into writing, it's a little harder because the days have been kinda long. Having said that, what is today, Friday?
Uh,
I think I've knocked out about 1,500 words this week,
Excellent.
which is pretty low compared to what I've been doing for this novel, but it's not bad, right?
That's
1,500 words
excellent.
in a week isn't horrible. Yeah.
1,500 more than I have. So, well done.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my news. I have done squat since we recorded on Sunday.
Have you been thinking about
I
it?
have been thinking a lot about how I'm going to finish book 2. I'm
That counts. Every word you think adds to your word
I
count.
God, it's like 250,000 words long now, and
Oh, wow, yeah.
I am there is a very special agent out there for me who will want my 250,000 word long imaginary manuscript, I am sure. I have been querying,
Is
because
that one of the things we wish agents would do better? Please take my 250,000 words.
yes. Look, if you are certain people on Threads, yes, absolutely. Look, I can't get away from social media. I know we talked about it last week ad nauseum, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a social media free zone.
but
We did that
but but
last
but
week.
but but there I have seen in this week alone multiple people on Threads just crashing out because they can't believe that they're getting auto rejected for their middle grade book at 110,000 words. And no matter what people tell them, like, you need to understand that there are conventions, and yes, there are exceptions, but this is what you need to do. And it's like, I am a very special
But
person.
my book is different.
I
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no,
Exactly.
no, no. It's different in that you're a person who wrote it who is different from another person who wrote something else. But enough about them, more about me and what I'm up to. I also have been extremely tired due to work this week, so there's been little to no actual words down, but I have queried, sent out a bunch of queries. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Kirk and I have actually queried some of the same people, I believe. So
Yeah.
maybe agency siblingdom is in our future. I doubt it, but it's a nice dream.
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? So you don't really come to Bad Lit Friends to hear about the minutiae of us not writing. So let's get to the meat and potatoes. So,
Let's do it.
Kirk, you're the one who suggested this topic.
Mhm.
What do you think? What would be the number one thing you would say if you had an agent, a nice, competent, dare I say, skilled practitioner of their art, and you had
Mhm.
not, like, strapped them to a chair or anything, or, what would you say to them? Number one thing they could do better vis-a-vis their relationship with aspiring clients.
Sure. So I'll start off right off the bat to say that, most agents do a really good job of handling their submission pipeline, right? So if you go onto Query Tracker and you go to that particular agent's form, most of the time that form is very standard, right? I want your query letter. I maybe want your synopsis. I maybe want your sample pages, your name, some bio info, and that's really about it, right?
Mhm.
Because at this level, that's all you really need. You're gonna be when you're going through Query Tracker, going through your slush pile, you're gonna land on mine, and you're going to, whatever your workflow is at that point. Maybe you hit the query letter first, or maybe you take a glance at the sample pages. Whatever it is, like, it's gonna be minutes, less than minutes, for you to say, "I wanna know more about this," or, "I don't." And so, any additional information there is kind of superfluous, and, we are jumping a little bit ahead in my script, Megan,
It's okay. I'm not controlling you here.
but I will say, for example, here's a question that comes up occasionally, and it's like, "Why did you query this literary agency?"
Mhm.
Or some alternative, but basically, "Why this agency?" Right? And I'm like, "Do you care? Do you care at this point?"
To admit, I could still remember the one where I just saw that and I was like, "You want me to blow smoke up your ass? Like, really?" It is I find it so superfluous. I came to you because I see that you're quite good at what you do, and I think my comment was along those lines. It was a little more respectful than I'm making it out, but it was, "Look, you know you're good at what you do. I can see that you're quite good at what you do. I've researched you. I think if you took me on, you'd do a fantastic job for me. What else do you need to know? I mean, are you that like what is it? How does
It's
it differentiate me? I think that's a different question than what attracted you to us, which I think is something it's more of an open question in a way. It's like
Mhm,
what do you
mhm.
see in us? Where's the
But
synergy?
even still, that question, in my humble opinion, not so humble opinion, that kind of question, worded better,
Mhm.
it's still like, we're at the point where all you're doing is you're looking to see if I'm possibly a fit for your list.
Fair enough.
If you wanna ask those kind of questions, I mean, I feel like that's a great question for you to ask when you are on the call thinking about representing
I
me.
think that is a
So
very fair point.
we end on the call. I would love to answer that question
Mhm.
on the call, right? Otherwise, I think it's just superfluous. And what you're doing is you're kind of setting up a little roadblock in the querying
Mhm.
process. And I have to stop. I have to, and I tell you what, I won't lie about this. I actually have the answer to that question in a Word document. So I have to go and I have to open my Word document and copy and paste this trite answer into your form. So it's doing neither one of us any good. You probably aren't even going to read it,
Yeah.
the answer. And I'm just filling that field out so that I can hit submit, quite frankly.
It feels kind of old-fashioned to me. It
Mhm.
it it doesn't I have seen look, I like a lean query tracker submission page, just the basics,
Mhm.
but I don't mind the occasional wild card kind of thing if it's interesting and it allows me to give a little bit more flavor of who I am as a person, where it's like, you know, w what I had one the other day when I was querying this weekend, which was, "What was the last book that you read?" And
Yeah.
I said, "It's Wreck by Catherine Newman," which is one of my comps, and it was great because it gave me an opportunity to elaborate on who I am and where I am, and also another one was, that I was a little resentful, but then I kinda got it. It was like, "Which author do you think has been very influential on your writing?" Not on you, but, like, on your writing.
Mhm,
And I really had to
mhm,
think about it. And I because I was like, And I came up with Marian Keyes, who is an Irish writer. She writes women's fiction, but what she does
mhm.
is she does the thing that when I thought about it, that she does that I do, which is humor cutting through darker themes. And it's
Yeah, yeah.
and a lot of talky people. And I was like, that's an interesting question, but it's not
So
necessary.
yeah, yeah, and I have to tell you, like, sometimes the questions are a little bit fun like that. And by the way, any of this, like, I'm not offended by these questions. It doesn't make me angry or anything like that, but it is a little bit of an annoyance, right? And so, I don't know. I feel like overall, we're just not in that point of our relationship, our, client agent relationship, that those questions have any meaning to you.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't have any bearing on the actual initial.
If we're doing the dance of the 7 veils in a query on Query Tracker, I'm only taking off 2 veils, maybe 3. Once we get on the call, I'm taking them all off, baby, but, it is I agree
Now,
with you.
there was an agent that on her query tracker form, so she's got 2 questions, I can't remember one of them. The other one is, "What is your star sign?"
Okay.
And she noted on the question, "You don't have to answer this. This is just for fun."
Yeah.
And who's gonna quibble with that? I do not have a heart of stone. The other question, I wish I could remember the other question because the other question was kind of funny. It was like a favorite food type question, but there was some kind of twist on it. Um, and that I don't know, that was a little bit fun, right? It was a little bit
Yeah.
silly, and she made it very clear that you don't have to answer this. I just like to have a
I
little bit of fun.
yeah.
And what that did, that actually told me a little bit more about the agent as well. So that was kind of cool.
I think if we had better understanding as querying writers, querying authors of why some of these questions exist, we might not feel like so resentful. Resentful is like a strong word, I think, but kind of like put off. It does add time. I mean, I was on Sunday, I did 5 and
Yeah.
it took a lot of one of them took a lot of time, and another one was basically pre-populated almost the whole damn thing. It was just the only thing that was different was the number of pages that I was submitting.
So speaking of things that we wish literary agents would do better is understanding that every time you make your query pipeline different than the standard, you are putting work onto the author. You're putting more work
Mhm,
on us.
mhm.
There's one particular agent who, to be fair, they're a UK agent.
It is
I
different.
know that things are they do things a little bit different there as well. But they didn't ask for a query letter. They want the blurb on the back of the book. They
Yeah,
want you to fill
that's
that.
right.
And I'm like, "Well, I mean, that's a query letter, right?" So, it was confusing because I'm like, "Well, my query letter has that, so should I chop everything
Yeah.
off that is not my query," which I ultimately wound up
This is
doing.
the agent that we both queried, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and we talked about it, like, "What do you think?" And I think we ended up just chopping out
Like the
the
bio and
metadata
yeah,
and the
all the
bio.
stuff, book comps,
Yeah, we got rid
I
of the
didn't
book
include book
comps. Yeah,
comps
and that was it
because
because
they didn't ask for them. Yeah.
no, I know, and I
But
was
I
it
still
felt naughty not giving comps. I'm like, "Well, what are you how are you gonna make any sense of this book if you don't know it?" But then I'm like, "Maybe I've been
yeah,
brainwashed. Maybe
yeah.
it's like they just need to see the text itself." And that was eye-opening too. And I don't have a problem with there being slightly different numbers of pages, but I think that there are some
Right, right,
standard
yeah, that's fine.
numbers that for in my experience, it is 10 pages, 30 pages, 50 pages. And I'm cool with all
Mhm.
of those. I have a 10 page, I have a 30 page, I have a 50 page. It's all good.
But do you have a first 2 chapters?
I also have the first 3 chapters.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because that's also
First
different,
1
yes.
chapter, first 2 chapters, first 3 chapters. I have them
You know
all.
what? I can't ever do that because I am constant books that I have finished 6 months ago,
Oh,
I
yeah.
am constantly noodling with
S
them anyway, and so then I
ditto.
have to regenerate all
Ditto.
that stuff.
I revised my first chapter on Sunday. Okay, so I lied in the intro here. I did do some writing, which is this book, which has been done for over, what, a year and a half now. I went back in and I went, because
Megan, our readers come to us and trust us to
sorry,
tell about our
sorry.
writing
I
journey.
will
For shame.
I'm going to call out our Laura B, who she of the wonderful feedback through beta reading of my book, who brought up the very good point that she couldn't connect enough to my main character in the very beginning. So I had gone back and already thought that I'd already threaded enough through, and I thought, you know what? I think I can do one more. I think I can get one more in, and I thought I sat with it, I thought about it, I put in one sentence, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's so much better." So, I then had a new 10 pages to do, a new 30
Yeah,
pages
so
to
then you
do.
had to regenerate all your stuff,
It's
yep.
all good. It's all fine. Also, Anne, hopefully by the time you listen to this, I will have actually given you a fully revised copy of the manuscript. I've been promising it to you for the past 3 days. I'm sorry. But there should be standard numbers. I don't have a problem with having these different ones, but there is the occasional outlier where it's like, I want your first 75 pages. I want your first, 40. And it's well, what do you get it? I personally, I think the chapters is a better way to go, but I also understand that if you're that some people have very short chapters and you're not getting enough. And also there are people like
Yeah.
me who write really long chapters and
Well, that's easy enough to fix. Send me your first 2 chapters or your first 30 pages,
yeah,
whichever you prefer,
whichever you
right?
prefer.
Or something like that. I'm not as hung up on the different, send me your whatever number of pages or chapters or whatever. I mean, that really is going to boil down to taste. Every agent is going to, have their own way of kind of reviewing your first pages, right? So
Yeah.
I don't get as hung up about that. It still
Yeah.
kind of sucks because it is extra work. It would be really cool if there was like a standard
Yeah.
like, always have your first 2 chapters ready to go for a literary agent.
Yeah.
That would be very cool, but I understand the reality.
I'm looking at a note that you have here, and this is a very good question. Why are we still doing partials?
Yeah,
Why?
and that note is specifically for when an agent requests either your partial manuscript or your full manuscript. So that's when, that's the green happy face on Query Tracker. They have asked for pages from you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I am
I've never had a
like,
partial, by the
why
way,
not ask.
so I don't know, but I've only
Yeah,
had
so I've had
fulls.
partials. I've had partials and I've had fulls. I don't understand it because we live in an electronic age now. Me sending my partial or me sending my full, the number of electrons that I consume to do that is pretty negligible. And also electrons, get recycled anyway. So I don't understand it. There maybe is a good reason for that that
We'd
some agent
love to
could
hear
tell
it.
me.
We'd love to hear it. If you are an
Yeah.
agent and you can explain this to us, please do. But which brings me to another one of your excellent points about fulls and partials. Let's talk about responses and
Communication.
communications in general. Look, some of you guys, if you look, I'm addressing you as if you're all agents. You probably aren't. But some of you guys are really good at communicating. There are some agents out there who are famously quick, and
Yeah.
it works for them. Some of you can't be, and that's also cool. We're not expecting check-ins, like, every week or every 2 weeks, like, "Still working on it."
And again, I'll divide this up into the kinda 2 segments of querying an agent. So the first one is when you're querying them, right? I would never like, silence sucks in any case, but if you could give a clear statement like, "No response means no after X weeks,"
Yes.
right? Because sometimes I'm waiting to query one of your colleagues.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you have not been clear about that, I just have to guess maybe after 3 months I query your colleague and then I don't want you getting mad at me because now 2 agents
Yep.
have a manuscript in their slush piles, right?
Yep.
So if you could just say, "No response means no after X many weeks,"
Yep.
or nudge me or whatever that takes. I would actually, like, even I would go further with that because I kinda like, I don't like the no response means no type thing anyway, but I do understand it. So, what I would really prefer is just close the loop.
Mhm.
So, if you could just send me a quick boilerplate message saying, "Sorry, no." But again, if you can't do that, if you're just too overwhelmed, and I get that, agents are, they get dozens or more queries a day. I understand that. And so if you have to just at least tell me after X many weeks, it's a no. It's a pass from me.
It's
And then that also lets you clear your slush pile, because you can take anything that's older than X weeks and just delete them. And that's gotta feel
Yeah,
good.
there must be some macro that they can build into Query Tracker that agents could enable, that at
There might be,
16
yeah, there
weeks
might be.
or 6 months or whatever they want
Mhm.
to automatically mark it as a rejection. And Mr. Query Tracker, whose name I can't remember, if you're listening, which you're not, if you did something like that, you might also consider building in the ability for the agent to then uncheck that later. Like, it would automatically do it, but not, like, delete it, just kinda put it in a whatever pile, kind of thing.
I had an agent when I was querying my first book. On her query tracker form, she had a checkbox, and it was, "I am incredibly backed up right now. So if after," and it was like, "If after a year you still want me to be looking at your manuscript, check this box. If you don't check it, then just assume that after a year," like, I mean, and it
Yeah.
was a year, right? Which is a crazy response time. And so I checked the box to say, "Yes, keep me in your pile even after a year." I then landed an agent, and she was one of the agents that I informed, but I didn't get a response back from it. But I'll be darned, like 15 months later, I got a response from her, and it was a rejection.
Yeah. I've got 2 CNR considered non-response on Query Tracker right now. I just kinda wonder, like, what happened because one of them actually, both of them didn't have any notes about if you don't hear from me if you or you should
Mhm.
nudge me. Neither of them had those notes, so it's kinda like, I wonder
Yeah.
but also one of them was a bad fit, I realized in retrospect, because I found out she's kinda MAGA, so
Okay, yeah. Not a
not a
great
great
fit.
fit, and the other one is I don't know what happened. I guess got lost in the mists of time, but whatever. Yeah, I agree that just some quick, boilerplate would be fine. Just a "No, thank you," or, "Not a great fit. Wish you well," is fine.
Yeah. And if you can't do that, just let us know after X many weeks, it's a no.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
I think that's full, and I
some
yeah.
some way that we can close that loop, right?
Yeah, and I think also communicating well, and most agents do this about a no from one at the agency is a no from all. Um, the
Mhm.
the only point I would make about that is that I think for some of them, they could make it a little bit more explicit, like bold maybe, or all caps.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand why that exists. But in order to prevent writers from being embarrassed and agents from being overloaded or worse, getting on the other end of some crazed lunatic writer saying, "It's not fair," at least you were explicit about it. I don't
Mhm,
have a problem
mhm.
with it as a policy.
Yeah, I mean, it's your agency, you run it how you want, right? So
It's
absolutely.
fine.
If and typically what the reason for that is because the agents kind of are very collaborative at that agency. And so they might get my manuscript, say I'm not a great fit, but the person next door to me might love it, so I'm going to just share it with them. So don't query
Yeah.
them because I've already shared it. And if he or she took a look at it and said, yeah, still no, then everybody has been saved a lot of time
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
I will say that I have accidentally queried a no from one is a no from all. I've accidentally queried another agent at that. I I apologize if you know, if an agent here is listening that they got one of those. I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident, but nobody's actually ever, like, sent me a nasty email back saying, "We said no."
I'm kind of imagining that this episode is going to, like, make the rounds, amongst all the agents, like, "Oh, you have to listen to this episode. You're gonna
Yeah,
learn
wouldn't that be great?
everything that writers are saying."
We need to overhaul our
I
entire
know.
website
Gosh,
now.
all these points are excellent, and we've never heard them before.
I know, right? This is all brand
Yeah,
new, yeah.
all brand new, but it's we do understand that this you guys have an unbelievably difficult job. Without
Mhm,
telling
mhm.
too many tales out of school, Kirk and I, know an agent who has shared information about what her day-to-day life is like. It's hard. It's very
Yeah,
hard. She
yeah.
she loves her job, but it's a very difficult job, which requires her to absorb a lot of bad vibes from
Mhm,
difficult people. And
mhm.
without getting too further ahead in Kirk's excellent script as writers, we should do what we can to make their lives suck less. And some other top tips that we could give would be your manuscript wish list. So, as we're both querying right now, we are both dealing with these issues of people not updating them. You
Yeah.
see, particularly in when you look at the comps that they're talking about, there are some very, very old comps out there, or some very, very huge comps out there. It's the classic,
Yeah.
do as I say, not as I do. So please, help us help you.
Well, and a lot of times, you'll go to the agency website, you'll pull their bio, and it says, "I am looking for the next whatever in these genres." And then you go to the MSWL, and there's more genres than
Mhm.
what was in their bio, and you don't know which one kind of
Mhm.
overrides which, right? Because, like, if you're writing children's books and on the website it says she's accepting children's book, but in the MSWL, it's not specifically listed.
Yeah.
What do you do? And you could say, "Oh, well, you go to Query Tracker and you see their genre pull down, and if children's books isn't in the genre pull down, you know." Except that a lot of agents don't use Query Tracker, they use email.
Mhm.
And so, we don't wanna waste your time.
No.
I don't wanna send you a thriller if you're not taking thriller anymore.
No. So something that I've seen on manuscriptwishlist.com is that some agents will say, if you want a more up to date or more granular version of my current wish list, go to my personal website and they
Yeah,
will link it
yeah.
right there. And they're like, this is the one that I keep most up to date. I really appreciate that because,
I do
yeah,
too.
because they'll talk about specific things that they're looking for in that moment.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's their own personal blog, or it's a little bit more about this person as a human. I get a better sense of who they are as a person, but also what they're looking for. That's easier to maintain.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't want to be looking in 4 different places to make sure that you talking about children's books, for example, if in one place you say that you take picture books, but you haven't taken picture books for the past 4 years, and then I go to your personal website and you've got some blog entry or like, why are people still pitching me picture books? I will say that I didn't this is not the genre that I saw this in, but I have seen something similar. And
Mhm,
it's,
mhm.
sometimes you really are the problem, and that's okay. I am frequently the problem. I accept that. But sometimes the problem is indeed you. And if you don't want to get picture books, just keep things updated. Yeah, it sucks to have to keep multiple places updated all of the time. But how often are you really doing it? Maybe every season, maybe every, couple of months. I don't know what's involved in updating these, but we have occasionally have to
Yeah.
update our own things. So,
And my guess is that, like agency websites, the agent is most likely not updating the agency
Yeah.
website, right?
Yeah.
That's probably farmed out somewhere or, or just they probably don't even know how it gets updated. And so it's probably harder for them to manage their author profile on the agency website.
Yeah.
So like you say, yeah, point me to your link tree
Mhm.
where I can find your MSWL and
Yeah.
just like help us help you,
Yep.
right?
Yep. I love a good link tree. The more I can learn about you and, like, eliminate myself from your potential slush pile, the happier we're both
Mhm.
going to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
It also it is okay to close sometimes.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's also okay to only be open a couple of days a month or only say, I'm only accepting 300 or 200 submissions. Whenever I get to that, I'm done. For the month, I'm cool.
Yeah.
That is totally, totally cool.
And I do wonder why some agents don't just close. Like, you'll see them say, "Oh my god, I get 100 submissions a day or something." And I'm like, "Well, you should probably just be open 1 week a month
Yeah.
then."
Yeah.
Or whatever it takes to keep from being deluged. And my guess is that there's probably some FOMO happening, so they don't wanna miss that manuscript that is making the rounds, that and that it's a commission job, right?
Yeah.
So I can see where you wouldn't want to shut down. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, if you are inundated to the point where you just can't look at all of them, then why not close any of them?
Yeah, yeah, and this may be genre specific, but I certainly have found a lot of agents, in the upmarket book club, even women's fiction sphere, who are quite good about saying, I'm only open, the first week of the month, or I'm only open, until I get, 300 submissions on starting on the first of the month. That's good. I think that's great, but it also does it makes you have to be very organized at the beginning of the month to start pushing
Right.
things out. And
Sure.
but again, it's just communication. A lot of this is what you tell us will help you ultimately.
Mhm. Mhm.
But, and yeah, if you that it doesn't mean that you can't still have channels of communication open for people who you spotted during a pitch contest, online, people that you met at a conference or referrals. All of these people can still come to you and, like, Kirk and I don't care, if you get people get these special routes in. I don't give a shit. I know some writers really care. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
care. You can control your flow however you see fit, but also
Mhm.
if you don't wanna be in a situation where you have 15 months until you can tell Kirk, "Sorry, it's me. No, it's actually you." Closing once in a while won't hurt unless we're missing something. I don't know. So
You said something there, control the flow, and I think that's really important. It's not only control the flow, but also control the bandwidth. So this circles right back around to what we were saying before. Your query tracker form, if you're asking all these extra questions on your query tracker form, maybe streamline that. That's going to help you out too, right? Look, we're all adults here. You don't need some writer out here telling you how to do your agent job. I get
yeah, we're
that. I'm
full of
just
shit.
saying.
It's fine. We know it.
Yeah. We do know it. Um,
Yeah.
but, there are ways to kind of manage it,
Yeah.
and I think probably more agents should take advantage of those ways to just make their own lives easier.
Yeah, and we understand that there are things that are out of your control.
Mhm.
And, we don't have any control over what the current trends are in the market or what people are forecasting the future trends are gonna be. We
Right.
we we have no control over that. We get that. We don't control who you know. We don't control what genre you rep because you don't have the right context. We don't control any of this. This is something that we understand.
Yeah, and so like I've been guilty of this too. I more tongue in cheek than actually serious, but when I've said, "Oh, my manuscript hit every exact thing that you were looking for on your MSWL, and you still rejected me, right? And it's like the agents
So
don't
painful. Straight to the
and
heart.
so rude, and so rude.
Yes, yes, very, very rude.
But, you know, it could just it's I who there was an agent that, made a really good comparison, and oh, so she said, "I might tell you that I specifically need a dress, and that dress must be red, and it must be this shade of red, and it must have 4 buttons. And so you can bring me a dress that matches all that criteria, and it still may not be
Yeah.
right. It may be too short, it may be too long, it may have the wrong collar or something like that. Something minor. So, and I thought that was a really good analogy. And so agents have these very specific asks that your very specific queries still may not hit because publishers are looking for very specific things too.
Mhm.
So, it goes right up the chain there. They have no control over
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh, I get it. A agent out there
Yeah.
who rejected my New England novel after specifically asking for a New England novel. I swear to God, I never think about this as
Right?
I'm drifting off to sleep. Never, not once. But okay, let's flip the script. What can we as authors do better for agents?
Yeah, I think then the number one thing there is to research your agents.
Never, never do this. No, I'm just kidding.
Just shotgun them
Just
out.
shotgun, just whatever.
Yeah. Go through it like a phone book and just, start with,
Start
I can't think of
with
an agent that starts with an A.
Annie Bumke,
There you go.
who
Oh,
we
yeah,
both
yeah.
queried. So yes.
So, yeah. You need to do some research. At the very least, hit their MSWL. Not every agent has an MSWL. You go to their agency website. Not every agent has, I'm looking for this on their agency website. Maybe, try their personal website,
Mhm.
try their link tree, exhaust every category you can do. In fact, we could probably even do an entire episode on how to research an agent.
I think that's a great idea. It is because I'm
Yeah,
learning.
listeners, let us know. Do you want us to do that episode?
Yeah,
We'll do
because
it.
if you can make our jobs easier by telling us what to do, we're totally open to that.
Yeah,
Also
yeah.
bribes, still very
Also bribes,
open for
yes.
bribes. Yeah, and also I'd say follow instructions. They're there for a reason.
Absolutely.
You are one of many queries. And you
Mhm.
don't want to stand out because you're a fucking dick. You want to stand out because you've got a killer book. So because 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 they will remember you if you're a fucking dick, but not for the right
Mhm.
reasons.
If you query an agent saying, "I know that you're not looking for horror," for example, "but I've got the most unbelievable horror novel, and you absolutely are going to want to rep it," you are wasting everybody's time,
Mhm.
and you're also being just really clueless, and this happens, um,
Yeah.
a lot. If the agent doesn't represent the genre you're writing in, don't query that agent. You're wasting your time. It will be rejected. It will be
Yeah.
rejected. And you can maybe stretch it a little bit if they're asking for thrillers. And your book is maybe thriller adjacent. It's got thriller elements or
Uh-huh.
something like that. Give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and some agents will say, "Even if you don't fit into my MSWL,
Yes.
give it a shot. Give it a
Yeah,
shot."
absolutely. Some agents will say, "I here's the genres I really like, what I represent and everything like that, but if you've got a great hook, great characters, if you can make me cry, or if you can make me laugh or something like that, give it a shot. I don't mind."
Yeah.
That's great. Do it.
Yeah.
Go for broke on that. But unless they're doing that, be respectful. If they say, "I'm only looking for romance at this time," don't send them a thriller.
Exactly, and also, if you romance is very because God, this is another episode that if you honestly, I'm gonna butt in here. If you are a romance writer and you're listening, I would love to talk to you. I would love for you to be on the show because there is so much dialogue right now online about what makes a romance novel, and there's so much pushback on the concept that there needs to be a happily ever after in a romance novel, and we've talked about it before, but this is
Weirdly,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I have seen some weird conspiracy theories about this for another time, but if you are pitching something like a romance novel, understand your genre, understand the conventions. Don't say, "I've got a romance novel, but it's not but it doesn't have an HEA, it doesn't have a, happily ever after, it doesn't have a happily for now." And they say, "I only want to see books that have happily ever afters." Please don't query these people. Also, if an agent has very specific content warnings that they're like, I see it a lot. I will not look at a book that has anything that involves
Like animal
animal
cruelty
cruelty
or
or child
essay, yeah.
cruelty,
Mhm,
or I don't wanna see sexual violence on the page.
mhm, mhm.
That's something that I've had to think about because in the book that I'm querying right now, there is a sexual assault, but you would and it is not clear. This is a person who is in recounting a dissociative state. If you read it, it
Mhm.
happens. There is no detail. It's something that I've had to think about, and there have been some agents who have been more clear about it than others, so that I'm like, "You know what? You would have been perfect, but I really respect that for you, this is a hard no. I am not gonna do this
Yeah.
to you, so I will not do that." Respect it. If they say, "I don't wanna see a death on a page, I don't wanna see a death of a child, I don't wanna see a death of a parent or an animal," respect it. It's there for a reason. We are human beings, and we need to respect each other's boundaries.
And some agents just want a warning,
Some
so make
do.
sure you give that
That's it.
warning.
That's it.
Yeah.
Some on Query Tracker have boxes that say, "Put your content warnings in there." Now, as a, dyed-in-the-wool Gen Xer, I have had to learn that content warnings are not for me, they're for readers. And
Mhm,
if I want people to read this
mhm.
book, then I have to provide them and not be, such a fucking asshole about it. And I've gotten over it. Look, if I can get over it, you can get over it. I think this is something probably more for, the geriatrics amongst us, people who are older than us. But do it. Make your potential agent's life easier and more pleasant. In general, unless we're talking about Nazis and fascists, try to make each other's lives pleasant because
Yes.
it's not a bad thing to do. Of course, Nazis and fascists are excluded from it. Also, you have a really good point here. This is so dumb, but so important. Write the absolute best query package that you can. That does not
Yeah.
mean that you need to
Yeah.
spend a lot
For
of
sure.
money or any money, but you will need to spend time. I spent 2 hours on Sunday revising my synopsis, which I had already
Mhm.
revised before, only a month before, but I thought about it and was like, "This could be better." And for me, it was that one agent who said to me, "Your synopsis didn't grab me," and I was so fucking mad about that. I was like, "Synopsis is not supposed to be the most important part. It's supposed to be the most boring part." But I thought it's always bothered me. I'm like, how do I thread the needle of telling the story and being very matter of fact, but also how can I bring in a little bit of voice? It's like a challenge for me.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
you can do it. I've done it for free. I'm lucky enough to have the wonderful Kirk Rafferty as my coach. But our writing communities, as we have talked about, many times, people will help you for being an awesome person. It can work.
And I'm just gonna throw this in too. If you have ChatGPT write your query letter or write your
Lord.
synopsis, you're in a lot of trouble because it is more noticeable than you think it is.
Mhm.
Now, maybe 6 months from now, LLMs get better and it's less noticeable, but, it's so easy to tell there are
Yeah.
I love when I'm going through Instagram and I see some posts on Instagram where it is obviously written by
Yeah.
ChatGPT, right? Like, it's so obvious. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
And I digress there, but coming back to your query package, if you're just running it through ChatGPT and calling it a day, you're gonna have a bad time. So,
Yeah, 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 and as we've said
you wrote a
yeah,
book with Go
with
ahead.
your own you wrote a book with your own brain, use your brain. The only thing I was gonna say is, we've been very clear about, like, n no AI witch finding, but sometimes you can
But
tell.
no AI
But
also.
also no
Yeah,
AI, and it is you can tell because there is no soul there. You can
yeah,
have
it's
as
dead. It's
many
dead.
as many M dashes as you like. You can have as many sentences that follow the rule of three as you like. You can even have it's not this, it's that. You can have it, is it dead behind the eyes? It's, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
Yeah.
You didn't think you were going to get a Jaws reference, but you just did. But don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't use it for any of your query package, please. Not any of it. It is very tempting for a synopsis. Extremely
Agents read these
tempting.
agents read dozens of these things a day. They're gonna immediately spot the fraud.
Yep. Yep.
And then one of the, I would also say don't submit to more than one agent at the same
Mhm.
agency. And well, I was about to say, especially if they use Query Tracker, but just don't do it, especially or not. If they use Query Tracker and you submit to more than one agent at that agency, guess what? It's flagged in Query Tracker.
Mhm.
They will see that right away. But otherwise, even if they use email, they're coworkers. They talk to each other. They Zoom up if they're not in the same office. If they're in the same office, they probably have lunch together. If you query more than one agent at an agency, it's going to come out and then they're both going to say no because you can't follow rules and they don't want to work with a client that can't follow rules no matter how good your book is. So don't
Yeah,
do it.
look, we're not all enfant terrible out there. I mean, we may see ourselves as the greatest literary wonderkind. Most of us are way too old to be wonderkinds, quite frankly. You are not. Look, your mom probably thinks you're special. If not your mom, there's somebody in your life who probably thinks you're special. You're not special to an agent. Unless you can help them sell a book by writing a book. You are the book. You're
Yep. Yep.
85% book. 70% water, 85% book. If they don't have the contacts in the publishing industry or there's no market for what you are trying to sell, they're not going to sign you. I'm going to tell you, it's like rejections that I've had on Foals. It's just been like, it's not your writing. It's not even your book. I just don't know how I can sell this right now.
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't need that
It it
forever.
really it really is all about capitalism.
But
It has
again,
very little to do with your ability to write.
it's always
Yeah.
capitalism.
It's
God
always capitalism. It's
damn
the
it.
Scooby-Doo mask being ripped off and, "Oh, look, it's
And we're
capitalism."
the meddling kids, just ripping that off. So, it's damn it. Speaking about AI crap, let's talk some hot goss.
Let's do it.
So, from a quarter that used to not have a necessarily bad reputation comes a story about Grammarly. Mm, okay. So, I think most people who are listening know what Grammarly is or what Grammarly
Mhm.
used to be. Let's be more specific. I never was a heavy user of it myself, but essentially it was a let's call it like an old school spell grammar check thing. We
Mhm.
all are used
It's really good
it
too.
used to be pretty good and kind of like an amped up version of what you get in Word or wow, LibreOffice. If you're that kind of weirdo, you could look. I used to date somebody who was really into LibreOffice, but I digress.
They have embraced AI is what it really comes down to. So, and let's make a distinction too, I don't wanna digress, too far into this, but there is a difference between, like, generative AI and assistive
Yes.
AI,
Yeah.
right? Okay. When you text somebody and it does predictive
Mhm.
text, that's assistive. Generally, we don't have a problem with assistive, right? Grammarly, when it first started using AI, it was all assistive AI, still not a problem. Kind of a problem now because why don't you tell us why it's a problem?
Okay, so they have instituted this new function whereby you can get feedback on your writing from sort of AI versions of authors who write in your genre and calling it an expert review of your work. Now, this was specifically in relation to academic writing, and it was you could have these writers do their review. And some of these writers are actually no longer among the living.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. How about that?
So you can have a dead writer review. And Here's what kinda galls me too, is they're selling it dead or alive, it doesn't matter. What they're selling it as is you're gonna get the review that, name a writer that they've signed in on with this. You're gonna get a review as if it was from that writer, but this is not how LLMs work. If, for example, I'm gonna pull Stephen King out, right? I know Stephen King would never sign on with this, but let's say they have a Stephen King model, right? All they've done is trained this AI on some Stephen King books or Stephen King lectures and things like that. You're going to get this facsimile, but it's not Stephen King that is giving your review. And they're kind of pitching it like that's what it would be. If you've ever seen, there was that one author that famously left a prompt in her book, and
Yeah.
it was rewrite this paragraph in the style of
Yeah.
the author, right? That's what this is doing, basically. This is critique my work in the style of, and then this name that I don't know what the specifics are, whether they paid the living author. So essentially you are not getting feedback from, I mean, we all know we're not getting feedback from that author, but what I'm trying to say is you're not even getting similar feedback. You're getting feedback that sounds like that author, but could probably, might actually even not be the actual feedback that that author would give. So it's all fakery under the
Mhm.
covers.
Mhm.
This is what LLMs do. They make us think that they're intelligent. They act like they could be intelligent when really it's just
Yeah.
predictive text.
Yeah. It's just gross. It's just really gross. I'm
And
gonna
it's just gross, isn't it? It's really gross.
especially with the dead authors, like, they can't consent to
Right.
having their, their it's not their likeness in the sense of, like, what they look like, but their written likeness exploited. It's really weird, and I'm gonna point out that
Yeah,
so
it's
in AutoCrit, there is a function where you can have your, basically, they give scoring, like, on various things like pacing and
Mhm.
word use, and you can compare it against like an average or also particular authors working in the genre that you might be writing in. But all it's giving you is like
Mhm.
percentage wise what they kind of have figured. I find that less gross. It's just like, okay, we know that this author, writes in this particular way, uses this kind of sentence structure. How closely are you matching them? And it's, whatever. I don't mind that. That's okay. It's just like like let's pretend that Neil deGrasse Tyson is giving me feedback. Ew. I mean, he's definitely alive, but ew, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because it's not. He's not giving you feedback, and it's not Neil deGrasse Tyson giving you feedback, and it's not even, like, pulling from his brain. All it's doing is it's trained on texts that have already been pulled out there, and it's kind of just jamming it all together and then doing a predictive next word type feedback on it. And yeah, maybe it sounds like Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it's very likely to also steer you wrong
Yeah.
because LLMs are notorious for just making up bullshit.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it is.
so, but
Nobody asked for this.
nobody asked for this. It keeps getting pushed on us, and it's gross. It's disgusting.
So
I hate
so
it.
what's your prediction for when the bubble bursts? Because it's gonna burst.
I think so too. I don't know. I hate predicting technology because I'm always wrong about it. I am always wrong about it. I had always thought, like computer programmers would always have a job. And now AI, this whole vibe coding thing is just it's devastating the software development community. So it's hard, but I do think that the bubble will burst, and when it
Yeah.
does, it's gonna be bad.
Oh, it's gonna be bad. I also think that there are some uses that will not in writing, I think, but uses in science, where that
Hey,
that are
I have
going
always
to
said that there are great cases for
yeah,
AI. It's the cases are not in the arts.
God.
But yeah, there's some great medical research going
I
on.
think that's
There's
what's gonna
some
be left. That's what's going to be left at the end of this. I hope. I
yeah.
mean, it's a robot can sing you to sleep, but is it really going to, make your heart kind of beat in double time? don't really know. It's going to
Yeah.
end, so
Are we talking sex dolls here?
we
Because
could
no.
be.
Sorry, sorry,
We
sorry.
could be. I mean,
It's all really it's getting so depressing to, it's almost like every day there's some new assault on
yeah.
either the writing community or the artistic community or something, and it is these tech bro billionaires that are pushing it because that's how they're making their money. So they're going to tell you about how amazing it is because it's in their best interests. But it's not amazing, and it's making life shitty. It's making the internet shitty. It's just making things in general shitty, and it's making a shit ton of money for these tech bro billionaires.
But this is just gross. Nobody asked for it. We don't need it. If you think that you do, I'm just gonna ask you to sit with yourself for a little bit.
Yeah,
It can be very look, when all of the stuff started coming out, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I didn't know, I think a lot of us didn't know very much about the ethics of it. I'll be totally honest, I had fun kinda, like, messing around making images and stuff like that, and then
sure.
I learned more and was like, "I really don't want to do this."
Well, one of the excuses I hear a lot about using AI in writing is, well, it takes care of the boring parts of writing for me so I can I can do the exciting parts. I'm like,
Well
dude, if you're finding any part of writing boring,
yeah.
you shouldn't be a writer maybe, or maybe kind of change your
Yeah,
attitude
man.
because I don't find any of it
No,
boring.
it's hard.
Uh
There are parts of it
yeah,
that
yeah.
are very hard and frustrating.
And I suspect when they say boring, they mean hard. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard. I say this as somebody who's once spent an entire day trying to write. I think it was about 100 words of literally trying to get characters to go around a corner. That was painful, but it was all me. Is it human to feel the temptation to take a shortcut? Of course it is. But what are you cheating, like your teacher would say to you, what are you cheating yourself out of when you cheat on a test? Like, and again, you're making the same sorts of justifications to yourself as you would have given to the teacher. You're not learning anything about your craft. You're not learning anything about yourself as a writer, as a human being, as a member of this
You're
community.
not improving your
No,
skill as a writer.
no. And there are so many
Yeah.
studies that have shown again and again that students who use LLMs to write essays retain less information, even just when they're kind of taking the information and reworking it, than students who have just started from using their sources like, us old farts used to do. There's a reason. There's something, that researchers are exploring right now because it doesn't quite make sense logically that if you're rewriting something you wouldn't retain stuff out of it,
Yeah.
there's something. Maybe it is witchcraft. I don't know. Maybe that's what's in Area 51 is all of the aliens who control our brains with the
Well, if
LLMs. This is now a
yeah, I'd
conspiracy
buy that.
podcast. So
Oh, we need a whole new theme song now. Do, do, do. Yeah.
so if you've got one, bring it to us, badlitfriends@gmail.com. Um, so, next week, I had this brilliant thought wave in that I'm a busy lady and I want to keep things easy for us. We thought that we might do some Hot Goss Revisited. We've had closing in on 30 episodes so far, I believe, and I thought we could go back and do some greatest hits, mostly because Milo Winter is back in the news, and look, his hook is my world, so I gotta go back there, but there are some follow-ups on some of the other topics that we've talked about, and, a lot of these kinda thread into each other, and yes, I did use the word "thread" there on purpose. No, I didn't.
Mhm.
Just wanna make it sound like it. But, and what have we learned today, Kirk, in our discussion about agents? Anything?
We've learned that Megan and Kirk are probably never going to get an agent after this
This
episode.
is true. We may never release this, or we'll release it for, like, 15 minutes ago, "Sorry, folks." Yeah. Um,
I I think it really is just we're not putting anything out there that hasn't already been said. So,
Except for the point about the sex
we're
dolls, I think, maybe.
probably yes. But so and I'm sure that agents have heard, any agent listening to this podcast is probably going, like, "Yep, heard that. Yep, heard
Yeah.
that. Yep, heard that." And maybe there's a good reason for some of it. And I have to say, I thought long and hard about, like, what could a legitimate reason be to, like, never get back to an author and never explicitly put it on your website that, it's a no after so many days. Like, and I can't come up with a good reason why that would actually be. So, anyway, what have we learned? I don't know what we've learned. We've
We've
learned
learned, I think that we've learned that communication is a two-way street, right? So,
sure.
agents, we're not asking you to give us every bit of information. We're not asking you to change all of your ways, but you know, maybe don't go out of your way to make things difficult for people to query you. And on the flip side of it, writers, be calm when you approach agents and just really only approach them when you're querying them. Don't send follow up emails. If they've rejected you, it's a no. It's a no. And following up that no with a what's wrong with me, bitch, is probably not a good way to approach things because agents talk to each other. They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And your name will be remembered as the nutbag who sent 6 follow-up emails. But if you'd only read more than the first page, you'd see what a great no. In the meantime, you can follow us on all of the very most evil socials. We're Badlit Friends everywhere: Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, getting better about posting pretty quickly. And you can also go to our website, which I probably should update at some point, badlitfriends.com. Also, agents, if you're listening and you'd like to be on and tell us about all of your evil, dark arts, we would love to talk to you. So reach out, ballotfriends@gmail.com. Also, as we frequently mention, bribes. Bribes could also be Girl Scout cookies. It is Girl Scout cookie season. Let us know. If you're interested
Yeah.
in sending us
Yeah.
some, I will give you an address. It is not my address, but I will give you an address that you can send them to. So until next time, we will see you then with a cookie in our hand.
Bye.